my wife faked her death, yet I'm expected to raise her illegitimate child? After being reborn, my sister-in-law pressured me to marry her, and I agreed. In my previous life, my wife suffered from postpartum depression and jumped into the river, leaving just me and our newborn child to fend for ourselves. My mother-in-law, worried that I couldn't care for the child alone, suggested that I marry my sister-in-law. But no matter how close my sister-in-law was, she would still be a stepmother. For my child's sake, I refused. Then, 10 years later, my deceased wife appeared on tomb sweeping day with her first love. Little E is actually the child of Fei Hong and me. Now that he's grown up, we should come back to reunite with him. Only then did I realize my wife's suicide was faked so she could be with her first love. After they got together, my wife couldn't have any more children, which is why they wanted to reclaim little E. I had been nothing but a patsy, raising their child for all these years for nothing. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day my wife faked her death. This time, I didn't refuse my mother-in-law's request. Only after I agreed to marry my mother-in-law's request to marry my sister-in-law did I fully accept that I had been reborn. I looked around at the white cloth still hanging in the funeral hall and the memorial portrait of Sue Winley at the top. The hatred in my heart was almost overflowing. I wanted nothing more than to throw Sue Winley's portrait to the ground and trample it mercilessly. But I still held myself back. After all, everyone now believed that Sue Winley had died from postpartum depression after giving birth. If I were to destroy her funeral hall at this moment, people would only say I had lost my mind. In my previous life, Sue Winley developed postpartum depression after giving birth. She left the child for me to raise, and eventually, when I wasn't paying attention, she jumped into the river. It was only when my wife's first love, Chun Fei Hong's mother, found her shoes placed by the riverside that I learned Sue Winley had jumped into the river. I was devastated, believing it was my fault for not taking good care of Sue Winley. After refusing my mother-in-law's request to marry my sister-in-law, I raised my son through hardship all by myself. Fortunately, my son was quite sensible and always maintained first place in his studies. Just when I felt gratified and proud of my son, believing I could face Sue Winley with dignity after my death, she suddenly appeared on Qingming Festival, tomb sweeping day. She wore an exquisite long dress and was arm in arm with a tall, strong man. I recognized at a glance that the man was Chun Fei Hong, Sue Winley's first love. They looked glamorous and polished, while I was disheveled, clearing weeds from Sue Winley's grave. Yangda, Xiaoyi is my child with Fei Hong. He's grown so much now, and our financial situation has improved considerably. A child should be with his biological parents. As for you, I'll give you some money to repay you for your years of effort. Only then did I realize that I had been an unwitting fool for 10 years. I was so angry I almost coughed up blood. Since it was Qingming Festival with a light drizzle falling, and the mountain path was slippery, in my fury I lost my footing and fell down the mountainside. I clenched my fists, staring fixedly at Sue Winley's memorial photo. Sue Winley, well played. I'll be waiting for your return. I endured through a long decade. For these 10 years, I've been harboring a deep resentment. Because of this resentment, I worked even harder to raise my child. The villagers all laughed at me for being foolish, saying I should just give the child enough food to eat. They said once he grew up, I should send him to work in a factory to earn money for the family, which would be most appropriate. But I didn't believe them. In my previous life, I had taught Xiaoyi so well. There was no reason I couldn't raise my own child properly. During these 10 years, I relied on my memories to continuously make money. Until now I've accumulated a very substantial amount. Under my relentless nurturing, my son was actually admitted to Tsinghua University's program for gifted youth at the age of 9. Countless media reporters swarmed in, all wanting to interview me about how a rural person like me raised a child prodigy. But I declined all interviews and continued to live as I had before. Until the arrival of Qingming Festival that year. My son followed me up the mountain to pay respects to our ancestors, and we encountered many villagers along the way. They changed their usual contemptuous attitude and began to flatter us. No wonder Hohat wanted to marry her second daughter to him too. I thought it strange for his second daughter to marry the same husband, but turns out Hohat was the one with foresight. This Qin Yangda sure is lucky, having such an impressive son. He's just waiting to enjoy the good life now. Indeed, it's worth coming up the mountain to pay respects to ancestors. The Qin family ancestral grave must be giving off lucky smoke. Yangda, when things get better for you, don't forget about us village folks. Looking at the faces of these people, I found it utterly ridiculous. My mother-in-law, however, was flushed red from the flattery. For years, because of marrying her younger daughter to me. She was also mocked by many villagers, but now she has finally risen above it. After arriving at the place, I began to burn paper offerings and light incense for the ancestors. Just as I was about to ask my son to come over and kowtow, Chun Fei Hong's motherly Lanhua suddenly appeared. Before I could ask her what she was doing here, she looked over our ancestors' feng shui with disdain. Qin Yangda. They say that your Qin family's ancestral grave is emitting green smoke, but I don't see any. What's emitting probably isn't your family's green smoke. She looked at me mockingly, with a self-satisfied smile on her face. My son was standing nearby, just about to step forward to kowtow to the ancestors when Li Lanhua held him back. "Oh my precious grandson, how could you kowtow? You're a genius from Qinghua's youth class. What if you damaged your head from kowtowing?" She looked at my son's head with concern, then turned to me with anger. "You can kowtow to the ancestors yourself. How dare you make Lily do this? Is he suited for this kind of thing?" My mother-in-law, being an honest person, tried to step in and smooth things over. All right, grandson, you don't need to kowtow now, just stand aside for a moment." Only after hearing my mother-in-law's words did Li Lanhua reveal a satisfied smile. She appeared to settle down, but still wouldn't return to her own ancestors' feng shui area. She stubbornly stood beside my son, and, while we were busy praying to our ancestors, secretly took my son's hand. Then she even whispered something in my son's ear. After a while, my son suddenly shouted, "I don't want to." I looked over toward the sound, and discovered that Li Lanhua had become even more outrageous, forcibly trying to pull him away despite my son's struggles. I immediately rushed forward and snatched my son back from her hands. "Li Lanhua, what are you trying to do?" My son was still in shock after being pulled. After coming to his senses, he immediately complained to me. "Dad, she wanted me to kowtow at their family's ancestral grave." As soon as these words were spoken, Li Lanhua's face showed a hint of guilt. When my mother-in-law heard this, she became furious. "Li Lanhua, what are you thinking? Is this your child? How dare you make him kowtow? Just now you said my grandson shouldn't kowtow to the Qin family ancestors. I thought you genuinely cared about my grandson, but it turns out you wanted him to kowtow to your family's ancestors instead. Do you think your Li family could produce such a talented child?" My mother-in-law had probably been holding back since earlier, and now seeing Li Lanhua try to do this immediately ignited her anger. After she finished speaking, she began to gasp for breath. My son was sensible. Seeing his grandmother in this state, he took the initiative to pat her back and massage it. When Li Lanhua saw this, she became completely agitated. "Li Hohan, how shameless can you be? You actually let little Li massage your back. Don't you know he's already 9 years old? You have no sense of propriety at all. Is he your grandson?" She was extremely anxious and blurted out whatever came to mind. "I'm happy to massage my grandmother's back, and it's none of your business to tell me what to do," my son said in a clear voice. "Exactly, look at yourself. What are you anyway? You even went to bow at your family's ancestral grave. How presumptuous. This is the child my daughter bore for the Qin family, not for your Qin family." My mother-in-law also added her own sarcastic remark. As soon as the words were spoken, Li Lanhua's eyes reddened with hurt. She was genuinely upset inside. Seeing that my son refused to pay her any more attention, she could only secretly spit in contempt at me and my mother-in-law, then looked expectantly toward the bottom of the mountain. When all the ceremonies were finished, and I was planning to have my son make one more bow before going down the mountain, a familiar voice suddenly came from nearby. "Xiao Yi, don't kowtow. Those aren't your ancestors." As soon as the voice fell, I turned my head and saw Su Wenli and Qin Feihong. They were still wearing the same set of clothes from their previous life, looking exquisite, just like people of high status. I glanced at Li Lanhua from the corner of my eye, and sure enough, she revealed a smug smile. This person indeed knew about Su Wenli's death and escape. When the people around heard such a commotion at my family's ancestral grave, they all gathered around. My mother-in-law behind me, after seeing clearly who was standing before her, had tears in her eyes. She approached Su Wenli with trembling steps, carefully touching her face. "Wenli, you're actually still alive." My mother-in-law's face was streaming with tears, and upon seeing this, Su Wenli also began to cry. "Mom, I am Wenli. I'm sorry." Seeing Su Wenli come back from the dead, my mother-in-law was extremely excited, but after turning to look at me and my son, she quickly calmed down again. Su Wenli walked up to me, arm in arm with Qin Feihong. Qin Feihong spoke first. "Qin Yangda, I must say you have quite a talent for raising children, to have brought up my son so well. However, Xiao Yi is grown up now, and he should be with his biological parents. Our family of 3 has been separated for too long. It's time for us to reunite." Su Wenli's eyes reddened. She gave me a complicated look before taking hold of her son's hand. "Xiao Yi, I'm your mother. I'm so sorry I've wronged you and made you suffer all these years." After saying this, she turned to look at me, her eyes still filled with complex emotions. "You've certainly raised Xiao Yi well, but a child should be with his biological parents. As for you, I'll give you some money as compensation for your efforts over these years." After saying this, she took out her phone from her pocket, seemingly intending to transfer money to me right then and there. My son turned to me with a pleading look, as if asking if this was really true. Qin Feihong was wiping away the tears on Su Wenli's face with a look of heartache. "Come on, today is our wonderful reunion day, don't cry anymore." Then he turned his head and looked at me mockingly. "Didn't you hear what Wenli said? Xiao Yi is my child, you're just a sucker. Now that we're back, it's time for you to return our son to us. The villagers nearby widened their eyes after hearing his words, glancing back and forth between the two of us. Slap. Suddenly, my mother-in-law, who had been silent beside us, jumped out and slapped Su Winley hard. As the crisp sound of the slap fell, Su Winley looked at her mother-in-law in disbelief. Mom? Why did you hit me? My mother-in-law stared at her intently. Is Xiaoyi really your and Chen Feihong's child? Su Winley nodded with tears in her eyes. Mom, it's true. Back then, Feihong and I. Anyway, Xiaoyi must return to our side. Before she could finish speaking, Chen Feihong and Li Lanhua, mother and son, came over to snatch the child. Su Winley gave me a regretful glance. Yangda, I will make it up to you. My son struggled desperately, and I was about to step forward to pull him behind me. But Chen Feihong showed a vicious expression, and in the next second, he violently pushed me. Before I could fall, a pair of soft hands steadied me. Seeing the familiar face, Su Winley immediately realized, Shuli, why are you here? People nearby saw Su Shuli and immediately gathered around. Everyone knew that Su Shuli was now a famous and highly sought-after female business owner. If they could establish even a slight connection with her, wouldn't getting a better job position be an effortless matter? Su Shuli paid no attention to those villagers with their fawning expressions, but instead looked directly at Su Winley. Upon seeing her sister's icy gaze, Su Winley instinctively averted her eyes. She still couldn't accept that the little girl who once followed behind her with a silly smile had now become such a cold woman. Thinking about how close they used to be, Su Winley approached her sister. She tentatively took her sister's hand. Shuli, Xiaoyi is truly my child with Feihong. Back then, Feihong and I were deeply in love, but Mom just wouldn't approve of us being together and insisted I marry Qin Yangda. Originally, I thought I would just go on with life like that, but unexpectedly, I became pregnant with Feihong's child. I had no choice but to leave. Over these years, I've managed to earn some money. As long as Qin Yangda is willing to return Xiaoyi to us, I can give him money as compensation. After speaking, Su Winley looked at Su Shuli with an expression full of expectation. But Su Shuli didn't move, only coldly staring at her. I looked coldly at Su Winley. What right do you have to want Xiaoyi? Because we are Xiaoyi's biological parents. After hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh, staring intently at Su Winley as I said word by word. Xiaoyi is not your biological child. I looked mockingly at Su Winley and Chen Feihong. Yangda, I know you're heartbroken and unwilling to accept this fact, but Xiaoyi is my and Feihong's child. I'm absolutely not lying about this. Su Winley was explaining to me, then grabbed Xiaoyi's hand intending to take him away. However, this time Su Shuli directly blocked her. This is not your son, he is my son. Su Shuli frowned as she looked at her sister who had been dead for 10 years. Your son, Su Winley said with a confused frown. Then, as if she had thought of something, she relaxed her brow and said, I know that years ago, Mom was worried that Qin Yangda couldn't take good care of Xiaoyi, so she asked you to fake a marriage with Qin Yangda to take care of Xiaoyi. You've really had a hard time these years, but since I've already returned, I will fulfill my responsibilities as a mother, and you can get married now, Shuli. How ridiculous. She was dead for 10 years, absent during the time when the child needed a mother the most. Now the child has grown up, doesn't need anyone to take care of him anymore, and clearly has a promising future ahead. And this is when they decide to show up. Su Winley looked at her sister with some guilt. After hearing her thanks, Su Shuli's brows didn't relax but instead furrowed even more tightly. Su Winley, have you gone mad? I already told you, this is my son, my and Yangda's son, named Qin Si. Su Winley's face also darkened. Would I not know whether he's my son or not? Su Shuli, although I'm very grateful that you helped me take care of Xiaoyi for a few years, Xiaoyi is still the child of Feihong and me. Today is Qiming Festival. Just let Xiaoyi recognize his ancestors and pay respects at the Qin family's grave today. After she finished speaking, she stepped past Su Shuli, intending to directly take Xiaoyi to the Qin family grave. Xiaoyi, be good. Mom and Dad have wronged you, but it doesn't matter. Mom will make it up to you later. Qin Feihong also followed, his eyes fixed tightly on his son, tears about to fall from his eyes. If not for the current scene, they would truly appear to be parents eagerly longing for their child. The son looked at them, but since he was still young, he was a bit scared and hid behind Su Shuli. Mom, who are they? Why do they say I'm her son? I'm clearly Mom and Dad's son. Su Shuli also protectively kept her son behind her, and seeing the current situation, I also stood in front of them. When Little E called Su Shuli Mom, tears fell from Su Winley's eyes with a plop. Little E, I am your mother. I finally couldn't hold back anymore. Little E is the child of Shuli and me. He's the child Shuli gave birth to. I've made it this clear. Can't you hear me? As for your son, he's already dead. Hearing these words, Su Winley's face looked as if struck by lightning. How could you possibly have a son with Shuli? You said you only loved me. You are. He lied to me, right? How could Little E be dead? Isn't he perfectly fine? Chen Feihong also wore a face of disbelief. He looked at the people around them, and their eyes all revealed pity. Su Winley became somewhat flustered, but still forced herself to calm down. Yongda, I know you can't accept this fact, but you shouldn't curse little E. Besides, you loved me so much. How could you possibly be with Shuli? You said you would only love me in this lifetime. There was a glimmer of hope in her eyes, as if she was waiting for me to give her the answer she wanted. I turned around and took Su Shuli's hand, our fingers tightly interlocked. Xiao Yi is the child of Shuli and me. Not only do I know this, but everyone in the village knows it. If you don't believe me, you can ask my mother. As for your child with Chen Feihong, if you don't believe me, I can take you to find him, provided you can handle it. Su Winley was stunned. Chen Feihong shouted in disbelief. Impossible. Xiao Yi is the child of Winley and me. Everyone present sighed. I just turned my head. Follow me. Su Winley looked to her mother-in-law for help, her eyes filled with tears. You should go and see for yourself. After all, this is the consequence of your wrongdoings. Her mother-in-law said with disappointment. Su Winley had no choice but to follow me and Su Shuli, with Chen Feihong closely behind after he came to his senses. After arriving at the location and seeing the child's grave with his own eyes, Chen Feihong was thunderstruck. He rushed to the front of the gravestone, trying to see the name clearly. Only after reading it clearly did he break down and cry out. No, it's impossible. My son is a student in Tsinghua's special youth program, the most promising one. How could he possibly be dead? This is absolutely fake. Not only did Chen Feihong disbelieve it, Su Winley didn't believe it either. Her gaze at me strangely carried a few traces of sorrow. Little E silently stood in front of me, trying to protect me with his small frame. My heart warmed. Indeed, marrying Su Shuli and having a son was the most correct decision I had ever made. My son was incredibly attentive to me, and Su Shuli and I were known as the most loving couple in the village. In my previous life, when Su Winley and Chen Feihong came back to reconnect with their family, although little E didn't immediately call them mom and dad, but when I slipped and fell down the mountain at the end, little E just stood there without any reaction at all. After being reborn, I naturally had reservations about him. The day after I promised my mother-in-law I would marry Su Shuli, Xiao Yi came down with a high fever, and the doctor said he had caught a cold earlier. It was too late by the time he was brought in. So the Xiao Yi from my previous life had already died before reaching his first birthday. The following year, my child with Su Shuli was born, also a son, and I still named him Xiao Yi. Su Winley refused to accept the reality before her. She couldn't accept that her son had died, and that I had another child with someone else. She reached out to me, ignoring Chen Feihong, who was still sitting blankly at the tombstone. Yongda, this must be fake, right? You loved me so much, you would definitely take good care of our child, and wouldn't actually develop feelings for Shuli. You two don't have real feelings, and our son is still fine, right? I know I was wrong. Please stop deceiving me like this. Can I come back with you and live a good life together? She looked at me with tears in her eyes. I remained silent, only turning back to firmly hold Su Shuli's hand. I originally thought that after what happened in my previous life, I wouldn't easily fall in love with anyone again. Even when I married Su Shuli, it was just to get revenge on Su Winley. But unexpectedly, Su Shuli has been truly good to me. She knows how to appreciate my efforts and is willing to work hard alongside me. During those difficult days of earning money outside, we endured the hardships together. How could I not love her? My heart has long belonged entirely to her. I didn't answer Su Winley's questions. Naturally, someone else did. Sister, I still call you sister now, hoping you can wake up and see yourself clearly. The truth is exactly as Yongda said. If you hadn't chosen to fake your death and elope with Chen Feihong back then, I wouldn't have had the chance to marry Yongda. In any case, that child is indeed dead now, and you've already married Chen Feihong. After you both get over your grief, you can have another child. Su Shuli spoke very sincerely, and it was evident that she still harbored a trace of affection for Su Winley. But Su Winley wouldn't listen at all. She opened and closed her lips twice, wanting to say something, but was interrupted by her mother-in-law. Enough. Things have escalated to this point because of you, Winley. That child died because when you left, you didn't cover him with his little blanket. After hearing these words, Su Winley laughed coldly. Mom, do you think I don't know that you favor Shuli? Why did you marry Shuli to Yongda? Did you secretly wish I were dead, so that you could wholeheartedly be good to Shuli? Hearing Su Winley's words, I almost laughed out loud. Mother-in-law favors Su Shuli? If she truly favored Su Shuli, she wouldn't have married her to me. It's worth noting that Su Shuli was only 19 when she married me, in the prime of her youth. She had never even been in a relationship before, but was married off to me, a previously divorced man, only because my mother-in-law was concerned about who would take care of the child born to her eldest daughter. Not to mention that before this, I had been Su Yu Wanli's brother-in-law, and Su Shuli was my sister-in-law. Just by seeing that I had a child, anyone could tell that in others' eyes, I was absolutely not worthy of Su Shuli. If Su Shuli hadn't already liked me, I'm afraid she wouldn't have lived happily in this lifetime. The one my mother-in-law actually favored was Su Wanli. Sure enough, the light in my mother-in-law's eyes completely dimmed with disappointment after hearing Su Wanli's words. All these years, she had believed that Su Wanli was truly dead. After learning that Su Wanli's only bloodline had also died, she spent her days washing her face with tears. If it weren't for the birth of my child with Su Shuli the following year, she might have passed away much earlier. To commemorate that child, she took out her retirement savings, disregarding the traditions of her hometown. She insisted on burying Su Wenli and that child in adjacent plots, and even erected a tombstone for this short-lived child. Many villagers thought she was a fool. After all, there were far too many children in the village who died young. Usually they would just bury them somewhere and be done with it. Why go to such lengths? Feeling all her years of affection had been fed to the dogs, my mother-in-law couldn't help but shed tears of heartbreak. That's enough. I've already shown you the graves, and now you know everything. I'm heading down the mountain with Shuli and Ce. Mom, please come with us, I said as I turned to descend the mountain. But Su Wenli absolutely refused to move aside. She stared at me intently, saying with a trace of sadness, "Didn't you once say that you wouldn't feel anything for any woman except me? Why? Why did you make your act with Su Shuli real?" I snorted coldly. "You were only 22 when you faked your death and ran off with Chen Feihong. How could I not take a wife?" But Su Wenli still persisted with her question. "We had so much history together. How could you easily forget and be with her?" Chen Feihong's face had darkened to the point where it was indistinguishable from the bottom of a pot. I looked at her with a cold smile. "Why didn't you think about our memories when you ran away with Chen Feihong? Besides, you never really loved me. Otherwise, why would you have run off with Chen Feihong?" When I said this, Su Wenli's face instantly cycled through various colors. She wanted to speak again, but Chen Feihong could no longer hold back. A flash of viciousness appeared in his eyes. "Su Wenli, we're already married, and you're still thinking about him? Do you realize our child was very likely killed by his hands?" After saying this, he immediately tried to pull Su Wenli down the mountain. Originally, they had reappeared to take back their child. But now in this situation, Chen Feihong immediately realized something was wrong. If he didn't take Su Wenli away now, he feared that not ONL. Why would he lose his son, but his wife might run off with someone else as well? But as soon as his hand reached out, Su Wenli ruthlessly slapped it away. Looking at the red mark on the back of his hand, a flash of anger crossed Chen Feihong's eyes, and his face turned crimson. Before they came back, if he had even the slightest injury, Su Wenli would be heartbroken. She would have gladly taken his place if she could. But now, she didn't care at all. Chen Feihong glared at me fiercely, with undisguised hatred in his eyes. Su Shuli frowned. She really hadn't expected that her sister, who had died 10 years ago and come back to life, would still have such feelings toward me. She spoke somewhat irritably. "Su Wenli, I've been generous enough with you. You were the one who did shameless things back then, and now you've come back to snatch my son. Having failed at that, you want to steal my husband too? How can you be so shameless?" When Su Shuli said those words, Su Wenli's eyes immediately turned red. She gazed at me longingly, tears streaming down like water. "Yongda, can you really forget me? I don't believe it. You said you would only love me." I raised my hand to interrupt Su Wenli's words. "You've already made your choice, and you got Chen Feihong. You should cherish who you have now." I mockingly pointed at Chen Feihong to remind her. "Chen Feihong is the one you loved enough to abandon your husband and child for. Think about that." After saying this, I ignored Su Wenli's attempts to stop me, took Shuli's hand, and went down the mountain with our son. I thought that Qingming festival meeting would be the last time I would see Su Wenli. After all, if she had any dignity left, she shouldn't come bothering me again. But unexpectedly, just one day later, I encountered her again at my doorstep. Su Wenli was wearing a long dress today, with her long hair flowing. She looked just like when she first married me. When she saw me appear, she suddenly stood up. "You've finally returned, Yongda." She bit her lip, looking at me pitifully, her eyes full of pain and expectation. "I know I wronged you before, but now I realize my mistake. You'll forgive me, won't you? After all, you love me so much. You're only with Shuli now to make me jealous." I instinctively took 2 steps back. I really couldn't understand how Su Wenli could be so shameless to this extent. I rubbed my head, feeling the pain coming back. "Su Wenli, what exactly do you want? We're over. Don't you understand? Why are you still obsessing over whether I love you or not? Fine, I'll tell you once more. I don't love you. I don't love you anymore. Is that clear? Even if you get the answer you want from me, then what? What are you planning to do? You divorce Chen Feihong, I divorce Shuli, and then we get back together?" As soon as I finished speaking, Su Wenli's face lit up with joy as she came forward. "Yes, that's exactly how it should be. We should be together." Looking at the expression on her face, I realized that Su Wenli actually truly thought this way. I had assumed Su Winley was just upset knowing that Su Shuli and I were married and truly together. I never imagined that such a ridiculous idea would actually form in her mind. I hurriedly moved away from her. Su Winley, have you lost your mind? Have you forgotten what you did? You clearly loved Qin Feihong so much that you were willing to fake your death, abandon your husband and child to be with him. Now that you've finally gotten what you want to divorce him instead. I said in disbelief, truly thinking that Su Winley had gone insane. Originally, in my previous life, I died because I slipped and fell down the mountain. Although it was somewhat related to Su Winley and them, the connection wasn't strong. So in this life, I thought about giving them a taste of their own medicine on Tomb Sweeping Day. After letting them experience the pain of losing a child and the feeling of having their hopes dashed, we could finally be free. But I never imagined that Su Winley still had feelings for me. If she truly loved me, then why did she fake her death to be with Qin Feihong? No matter what, I couldn't make sense of it. Yes, I chose Qin Feihong. But after I abandoned everything to be with him, I realized that I might not love him as much as I thought. Not only that, after we had been married for 2 years, Qin Feihong began to hit me when he was drunk, and now he has been beating me for a full 8 years. Su Winley shed tears as she rolled up the sleeve on her arm. I clearly saw the overlapping old and new injuries on her arm, which even had burn marks from cigarette butts. The newest wound was probably made by Qin Feihong after they returned from the mountain yesterday, and it was still slightly bleeding. Although I felt somewhat sympathetic after seeing this, I still firmly said, "You made your choice 10 years ago, so none of this has anything to do with me anymore. Besides, what makes you think I would want a woman like you?" I looked into her eyes and said seriously, "Su Winley, you are an adult now. You should understand that there are no second chances in this world. Go back. If Qin Feihong beats you, you should divorce him, not come looking for me. I will only be with Shuli for the rest of my life. I have already promised her." Su Winley's face turned pale as she walked away with red, disappointed eyes. I had a feeling that she wouldn't come to bother me again. There was a reason why her mother didn't approve of Su Winley and Qin Feihong being together back then. Not to mention Qin Feihong's extremely difficult mother. Qin Feihong himself wasn't a good person. He was known throughout the village as a gambling addict. At a young age, he was already skilled in all forms of gambling. Except for Su Winley, who was blinded by the filter of first love. No one wanted to marry him. And now that Qin Feihong had moved back to the village, he naturally reverted to being the gambler he was before. Or rather, he never actually changed. He was still a small-time gambler. During those 10 years, Qin Feihong likely gambled many times behind Su Winley's back and probably had no money left at all. After the Qingming Festival incident, Qin Feihong lost all hope, and Su Winley even showed goodwill toward me in front of him. He originally could have gained a son studying in Tsinghua's youth program, but it turned out not to be his own child. Not only was Li Lanhua hopping mad, but Qin Feihong also drowned his sorrows in alcohol night after night, eventually placing all his hopes on gambling. Unfortunately, in gambling, 9 out of 10 times you lose. He lost all his money completely and ended up owing others quite a bit. After losing, he would go back and take out his frustrations on Su Winley. When he used to beat Su Winley before, when they lived elsewhere, even if she screamed, no one would intervene. But after returning to the village, not only would Qin Feihong beat her, but Li Lanhua, upon discovering her son didn't care about Su Winley at all, and that Su Winley had nowhere else to go, would beat her too. Su Winley was beaten to the point of sobbing in pain almost every day. As time went on, her mother-in-law couldn't bear it anymore. After all, she was her own flesh and blood. She glanced at me cautiously. "I want to help Winley. I know she did something wrong, but seeing her beaten like that every day, my heart aches terribly." 2 streams of elderly tears flowed down her face. I sighed. "Let's help her, but just giving her money won't solve anything. I'll find her a lawyer, help her get a divorce, and move somewhere far away where she won't have to come back." My mother-in-law nodded gratefully. "That would be good. You and Shuli should live well together, and I won't let Winley disturb you two anymore." In the evening when Su Shuli came home, I told her directly about this matter. After all, Su Winley was still her sister, even though things had deteriorated to this point. The blood ties in their bones could never be completely severed. Sure enough, although Su Shuli didn't say anything, she nodded her head. The next day, she found a lawyer for Su Winley, and also had someone beat up Qin Feihong. After successfully getting divorced, Su Winley wanted to see us one more time. But neither I nor Su Shuli felt there was any need for us to meet again. So in the end, Su Winley moved far away, and we never saw each other again. Life went on slowly, and the wounds from my previous life were gradually healed by the happiness in this one. Now when I think back on it all, I can smile lightly. Life offers few